Broadcasting from the depths of outer space.
Hello, I'm alive. I don't know what's going on.
By your command.
Fascinating.
God damn you all to hell!
This is a Sci-Fi Podcast.
Right, hello, welcome to another episode of the Solo Sci-Fi Podcast in the year 2020, unfortunately. And we have a guest with us this week, Trekkerprise, and of course my bud, Copeland, or Michael, and we're going to be talking all things Trek and science fiction and, of course, many other things. Welcome to this week's show. And hello,
nice to talk to you.
Trekkerprise.
Hello, Gary, Trekkerprise. Nice to have you on. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me on. And yeah, I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're all
in
fine.
Year 2020.
2020, yes. I mean, we're all sort of struggling with the dreaded C word, but one thing that's not stopping us is from doing things on YouTube and podcasting and all sorts of fun things. And so
I was kind of thinking, what is the C word? Is it cinnamon?
you could call it that if you want. It could be something ruder, but we're not going to go there. Yes.
Oh no!
No. Of course not. No. But basically, it's very nice to have you, Gary, on the show. Now, I came across your YouTube channel a while ago. I think it's one of those recommendations, and I saw basically that you're a huge fan of the Star Trek. Not just Star Trek. You are a sci-fi fan. You've talked about many shows that we like. So let me first of all ask you quickly before we go into the news, just how you got into Star Trek and what makes you tick in the sci-fi world. What got you into it?
Well, long story short, I didn't start with Star Trek. I think my parents were watching Stargate.
Oh,
back then.
Stargate. Okay.
A long time ago, about 20 something years ago.
Right.
And yeah, I'm getting old too. So they used to. My mom was. I think she still is. She loves SG-1, and she watched it quite a few times, and basically that was the very first introduction to sci-fi in general.
Right.
And then as a kid, obviously, I watched many movies that I love and fell in love with. Last Starfighter was still one of my.
We reviewed that recently. We did a show on that. We did it about a month ago, and it was really good. We enjoyed that one.
It is a fantastic movie.
Oh God! Yeah.
And gosh, now I'm just like I want to talk about that.
Oh no, that's fine.
No,
I
that's
could
fine.
talk about that all night long.
Oh no,
movie.
we had a big.
So,
go on.
and of course, that was the time when we got Sequest as well, and Sequest was my very first love. As a sci-fi show, I loved it so much, and I knew that when it came out, they said that it's basically Next Generation underwater.
Yes.
Which was.
Did you like season 3? Did you like season 3?
I enjoyed all the seasons.
Yeah,
I know there was
there
was an interesting because I was doing some research recently about Sequest as well, and I read so much about it. Like in the first season, they tried to put so much effort and energy into the show, and then by season 2 they got a totally new crew on board.
Yeah.
Not like the actors, but like behind the staff, the production staff. And then season 3 they changed it again.
They moved
They
it.
just it's just production. But I didn't. This is the funny thing with Sequest and even with Star Trek, because some people said that during the seasons they can see how fluctuates, how the episodes are not as good, and they said it as Sequest as well. Like the first season was absolutely beautiful, the second season was good with a different storyline.
Change, yeah, it's different.
And the third season was with a different captain, with a different tone, but it was still the same show for me. So I didn't really think that this is like different cast or whatever. Now I see the differences because I read about it so much, but I didn't care when I was watching it, and I still watch it as a complete story.
Sure.
And that was my very first introduction. I fell in love with the show, and I know Star Trek was in TV as well, but some of the channels that we didn't have subscription for, they've been playing them. So until they included to our package, I would just seeing them occasionally here and there. And then one of the TV channel, they had the movies, but they always put the movies in unearthly hours, like 10, 11 in the evening, at night, and I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to watch that. I mean, what a 10-year-old gonna wanna do? 10, 11 at night, like you should be sleeping. And there was, funny enough, there was one, let's say unlucky night for me because I wasn't able to sleep, but it was lucky night for the rest of history because I was able to catch Wrath of Khan, the last probably 20-25 minutes, just the Battle of the Mutara Nebula. It's like, I've always say that I've got spoiled because that's basically the best part of the movie.
Yes, but it's enough to pull you in.
Yeah, it really pulled me in, and I was like, oh my days! I was watching this on the show on the TV guide. I was like, I really want to know what is this, and I checked next morning. First thing was that I hit up the TV guide. I was like, oh, that was Star Trek, and for my surprise, they actually had the movie on rerun a couple of days later, like in a better.
Oh, so then you saw the whole film.
Like, I'm gonna do that, and that was so. I started with the movies, and then Voyager came in again to our package, with a TV package.
So you didn't see it in the right order, then you saw it in different order from the actual the way it was made by the sound.
So I think I watched 2, obviously 3 and 4, and I think I went up till 6, and then only after 6 I watched the first one, and then I think I watched 7 as well, Generations. But then by the time I got to Generations, I was watching Voyager, and I started Voyager with season 3 because when we got the channel into our package, it was already in season 3. So I basically was rewatching it. After a couple of months, they stopped, and then they started a rerun from the very beginning. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch it again.
Yeah, fair enough.
So it's a bit of a wibbly-wobbly
timey-wimey
situation with Star Trek, but
I think, but that's the beauty of Star Trek. You can just jump in anywhere, really.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I still remember one of my first memories is going to see Star Trek the motion picture in 1979. I'm showing my age here, and my nan fell asleep in the movie. I loved it. I still loved it.
My dad took me. He thought it were boring. I was just mesmerised.
No, it was quite a deep film. It's not action packed, but it has some great ideas in it, and I still think that the motion picture it's very appealing to hardcore sci-fi. I think it's for more the general audience. I think it lost them a bit, and I think that the Wrath of Khan, because it was more of an action revenge kind of thing, I think that's why it was not just for Star Trek fans, but it was more appealing to the general audience, and I think that's why that was more successful.
I think Star Wars helped a lot as well for Wrath of Khan. Sense. Because if there's no Star Wars,
it's the best Star Trek movie ever made, isn't it? The Wrath of Khan. It's a classic, isn't it?
But Star Trek on movies only came back, as you already said, Trekkerprise, because of the episode 4 in 1977. Motion picture was only 2 years later. They were trying to cash in on Star Wars, and if it hadn't been for Star Wars, then you wouldn't have got the subsequent films and then all the spin-offs. So really, but I love Star Wars and Star Trek, so I don't mind either.
We might have got phase 2 instead, though.
We might have got maybe a 2 or 3 season, or maybe a bit longer of that. But that may have been the point where it would have stopped. So let's talk about a bit more about your side of things in a minute, Trekkerprise. Let's just quickly go, if it's okay with you, just any news that we've come across, and then we will just continue this conversation because there's some good stuff here. Let's just hit the jingle, and here we go. Solar Sci-Fi News. I'll quickly say from my point of view a couple of things. I know Martin's going to mention this because I'm quite intrigued, and this is a Marvel thing, and I'm not a big Marvel fan, but before that I've seen that Star Trek Discovery is set for a season 3 release date. It's going to be on Netflix UK. I don't know whether that was confirmed last week, but it means that we all should be able to see the new series about a day after it's released on CBS All Access in America. The one other thing I know that Martin would have heard of, I've never heard of this series or whatever, something called WandaVision by Marvel. Now, you posted something about this week, and it reminded me very much of Pleasantville. I know it's not, but if you either of you seen Pleasantville, about this kind of weird 1950s,
I've seen it.
It turns into colour. I know it's not that, but that was just the first impressions of the trailer. So, Martin, first of all, have you seen the trailer for this? What did you think?
Well, the Scarlet Witch has had a breakdown, and she's altered reality. She brings back the Vision from the dead, and they're reliving like an existence within like soap operas over the decades. She has pretend children,
Right.
and this film is going to lead into Doctor Strange, the journey into, what is it? Not the journey into madness. Is it the journey into madness? Next Doctor Strange film.
I don't
He's
know.
going to apparently turn up in the final episode because she's altered, like she's got a warp bubble around her where she's altered reality because the Vision got done in Infinity War.
Okay, so what you're saying is this new series is based on a lot of Marvel films, and so you'll know all the connections to other movies.
Yes, I don't like talking Marvel with you because
Well, I'm not. I mean,
the hashtag.
Hashtag Marvel Virgin. No, I have seen one or two films, but I'm more. I don't know why. I mean, Trekkerprise. Do you like Marvel yourself? Have you watched much of their stuff?
Well, not much of it, I have to admit.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I'm not really a Marvel guy, you know.
Yeah.
You see, I have been like told that if you want to watch the Marvel, what is it, Avengers Endgame?
Yeah.
If you want to watch that movie, you have 17 or 18 other movies that you should watch before.
Exactly.
And I was like, I cannot go through that torture. Like I don't. You know, I really like Robert Downey Jr. as Sherlock Holmes, but I can't see him as Stark. I adore Chris Hemsworth, but I'm just not interested about them Thor movies. And I watched, which one I watched? I watched Doctor Strange. I actually quite enjoyed it, but Benedict Cumberbatch, he's always gonna be Sherlock for me. So
yeah.
And he sounded really funny with his American accent, to be honest with you. And Guardians of the Galaxy I enjoyed.
I saw that. I thought that was quite good.
I haven't seen the second one.
No, I haven't seen the second either.
I watched what is it called? Ant-Man, the first one. That was quite fun too. So that's a free movie I only watched, and I'm not really not Spider-Man or anything. If you ask, if we go that far, DC, more like into my game, but I don't go crazy on that either. And I love the classic Superman series with
Christopher Reeve. Yeah, he was brilliant.
And even the Brandon Root one, and I think what's his name? Harry Cavill did a fantastic job as well.
I think
replaying the character.
He defines the modern day Superman, I think, and he's just got a deal for 3 movies now as well.
Really? Yeah. Okay.
For the Batman series, I won, but I only love I think closer to my heart is the Michael Keaton, Tim Burton style movies are the ones.
Yeah,
I just like
with that.
I watched.
They're slightly different, aren't they? Their feel is different.
But it's just too dark for me.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I have seen some. I did see Black Panther the other week because obviously the actor sadly died, and that was quite. And like I said, it's just. I think for me, it's such a. And Martin is doing his best to get me into Marvel, and I am cracking slowly over it. We've been doing this for nearly a year now, and I've started to see 1 or 2 movies. They are good, but it's slightly different.
I've got patience.
You're not going anywhere. Okay. So, Martin, have you got any news your end? What have you got your side?
Supergirl's getting 1 more season. That's finished, but it's rubbish anyway.
Okay.
So I'm glad that's finally finishing. I've got some Star Wars news.
Oh, good. Go for it.
Star Wars Alien Back to the Future designer.
I heard about this. Yeah.
Cobb dies.
Yes, I heard
that's
about that. Yeah, that's a shame.
And somebody else has died. Another icon, Drax from Moonraker.
Oh yeah. I like James
this week. Yeah,
I heard about that as well. That's a shame. And obviously it's always sad when you see these familiar faces, and of course they're no longer around. It's always sad. This isn't exactly news, but it is news for me. I actually had a reply on Twitter this week from Terry Farrell, which was quite cool because she was just saying she was just saying how much she likes her co-host Nana Visitor on DS9, and I just put a message to her saying, "Oh, what a nice message to say about her," and she said, "Oh, it's from the heart." She replied to me, so not a big thing, but it's just nice to get a reply on Twitter from someone you know on a sci-fi series as good as Deep Space Nine. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
I just have to jump in because sometimes I get like random replies from people, and once I found a very disturbing looking data head on eBay.
Right.
I was like, okay, I'm gonna just tag Brent Spiner into it. And
okay.
And it's like, just with the tag like, "Hey, Brent Spiner, do you think this is legit as a copy?" And he replied, "It's like, oh, exactly. This is how I look when I wake up." Like, that was fun.
It's actually strange. Go on, Martin.
Do you know what happened to me at a convention? I was dressed up as Q a few years ago, and the whole outfit. And O'Brien, the guy that played, what's his name?
Colin Meaney.
Colin Meaney.
Colin Meaney, yeah.
He came up to me and said, "Who are you?" He did. He asked me who I was.
Is he? I'm a big O'Brien fan. I'm a big O'Brien fan. It's quite funny because
he said and Garrett Wang said to him, "Well, he's Q."
So the actor who played Kim, Garrett Wang, recognised he was Q.
Yes.
But Colin Meaney, O'Brien didn't.
A photograph.
Well, mind you, Q was only on Deep Space Nine once, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, but he is in first episode at Next Gen.
Oh, of course he is, and the last episode.
Yeah,
you're right. Of course
can
he
you
was.
imagine how demeaning that was for me?
And also, Q says to him, "Weren't you one of the little people?" When he actually says, "I'm from." Maybe maybe Colin Meaney's got an issue about John DeLance and Q, and he just doesn't want to acknowledge it. Oh dear, it's a good story though. Anything else? Your end? Any news from anybody?
An actor called Tamura Morrison.
Okay.
He's going to be playing Boba Fett in The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I don't know who he is.
It's the actor who played Jango Fett's the clones in the prequels, I think.
Is that?
Yeah, because there's an image of him. Yeah, the actual the guy who played Boba Fett's the original one, the person who created the clones.
Name, then, yeah.
I think that's him. Yeah. So.
Don't hate me too much, but every time when someone says Boba Fett, I always think about Jabba the Hutt as a character. I don't know why.
Do you like Star Wars yourself?
I'm a casual fan.
Yeah. So you're
I don't. I'm not a hater by
you're
any means.
You're sort of on the fence with it, are you, sort of thing?
Yeah, I'm just watching. I just watch the movies as like I watch Marvel.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Have you seen?
I can definitely say that the three classic movie, the original ones are the best for me as a casual viewer.
Fine.
The rebooted 1, 2, 3 was okay. It gives a nice background story behind the characters, but the new ones are a bit of a fairy tale, to be honest for you.
Have you seen The Mandalorian yet? Have you tried that?
I have watched, I think, the first episode.
Yeah, well,
that's about it.
It's funny, isn't it? Because, like I said, I love Star Wars. I mean, I do prefer Star Trek to Star Wars, but I'm a big Star Wars fan as well. And it's funny with my family because my daughter loves Star Trek, but my son likes Star Wars, but my son doesn't like Star Trek. So it's funny how even
Force baby Newton.
Oh no, but it's funny even when you've got a family, you can't make people like something. It's just what works for you, and I think that
of course,
But I'm very interested about The Mandalorian coming out. That's coming out next month, and so before we go on to the topic, let's quickly ask you. Oh, fine. Let's do your news item first. Go for it.
I've got to, because you keep finding all this really bad cheesy music every week. It's
we've got Predator the musical again tonight.
But yeah, I can imagine. I'm looking forward to what you
give that a replay.
Fascinating.
Just to say, Trekkerprise, we always play some odd songs at the end of the show.
Yeah.
The other week we played this guy. Now, I mean, I was thinking about mentioning this again tonight, but there's this guy, and he makes his own lyrics up to well-known, like the Star Trek Voyager theme tune, Stargate Atlantis, and they are terrible. And we have played one. Have you heard those?
I think I listened to one of your episodes and I heard it in there, but I think I'd seen the guy's videos a few years ago.
Okay.
It was really surreal to sort of see.
We might have to play him at the end of the show. So, but before that, Martin, you were going to mention about a song or something.
Yeah,
what were you
I've got something that apparently next year we're getting Back to the Future, the musical.
Yeah, I saw that as well. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the musical. I don't know. I like Back to the Future.
Him that sings all the Star Trek music.
Oh.
He might be like singing the Back to the Future film.
This is the DeLorean. He would do something like that. Going to 1955 at 88. That's how he does it. He would do that. I've already tweeted him actually. I asked him, "Do you want to come on the show?" and he didn't reply. So maybe you heard the previous podcast.
It was like, no, you
I listened, you know.
Oh dear. Okay. Any other news from?
No, that's it, buddy. That's it.
How about you, Trekkerprise? Anything that you've heard that you might want to share with us? That you on your Twitter feeds or Facebook or wherever?
I don't mind. Top of my head, not really. Oh, by the way, you can call me Gary. It's much easier than saying
Gary. That's fine, Gary. That's fine. No problem. I wasn't sure. You know what I mean? Gary. Right, Gary. Hashtag awkward.
Yeah.
Okay, Gary.
Hashtag
So Gary, you
awkward.
don't have much.
No. Gary is fine.
Okay, no problem.
No, I'm just thinking, not much. I mean, the one thing I probably gonna give it a look because Harry Cavill is in it and 11 from Millie Bobby Brown is in it from Stranger Things. The new Sherlock Holmes series, which is not Sherlock Holmes, is Elona Holmes or.
Oh, I've not heard about that. Oh, so making a new version.
It's a Netflix show, and it's basically Sherlock Holmes' sister's daughter's niece.
Okay.
Yes. So I think it's a new take on Sherlock Holmes, but Henry Cavill plays Sherlock Holmes and someone else. Not familiar with all the actors, but that's coming out I think in October.
Okay.
And of course, Star Trek Discovery, as you mentioned, it is officially going to be available. It's already advertised on Netflix as well, saying that from the 16th. So that's cool. And
that's good because obviously, like Lower Decks is still not available in the UK. So it's strange
wink,
that wink, exactly. So so that should be interesting. We are going to be doing some live streams about that one as well, so that should be interesting. Brilliant. Okay, so anything else from you guys? I think we're pretty much done, aren't we?
I think that's the news. There isn't that much really this week.
No, but it's that's fine. I mean, we've got plenty of other things to talk about. Let's go into our focus of the week. Here we go.
It's the
Solar Sci-Fi
focus of the week.
All right, so this week, Gary mentioned, actually, before he very kindly agreed to come on, mentioned about a film which I gave a rewatch again this weekend so that I could talk about it with you both. It's a classic. It's from the 1950s. It's probably one of the earliest colour sci-fi films that I can remember, and that was, of course, Forbidden Planet. An amazing film.
The inspiration for Star Trek.
Yes. Now, this is why it'd be good to talk to Gary as well, because watching it again, it actually had an actor who appeared in an episode of Star Trek in it. I noticed it. He was in the episode where the crew were transformed into these little sort of blocks, and they were going back to the Andromeda Galaxy.
The Kelvin.
The Kelvin, it was the Kelvins. And that actor was in Forbidden Planet. He was one of the crew.
He was.
He was, and I know.
Now you're mentioning it, I did not notice, but now
I
you mentioned it.
I did.
Oh,
so it was so strange because seeing him in this, many ways, this was just how Star Trek was created. You know, Gene Roddenberry must have seen the film and realised that there's a lot of potential. I mean, there were so many things in this film. There was almost like a federation. There was a planet, and then you had it was, and they had like a crew, and it had it was just amazing. So, did you both see this quite young ages? What impressions did it get? Give both of you?
I saw it on the BBC when I was about 6 for the first time, and I loved it. It scared me.
It's scary. It's got scary music
as a kid, but as I grew up, I've got a mate who's a musician. He does a lot of electronic music, and he's really researched the films. It was the first film to use electronic music.
Yes, that's right. And it's. I mean, what I do every week, I feature sort of sci-fi sound effects from the film or TV shows. So you'll hear some sound effects from the film in the background as we're talking. I certainly. It's funny because I watched it again, like I said, this week, and I don't know when I last saw it. I haven't seen it for a long time, but it's very creepy about this weird guy that lives on his planet, and he's with his daughter, and there's a huge alien kind of underground city that he's kind of trying to harness and use and for his own experiments and stuff like that. And of course, he had this creature which is. In the end, it's his will, isn't it? This sort of creature is destroying the ship.
Yeah.
But it's actually a form of his own psychic energy. Yeah. And that was a very good twist. So, Gary, how about you? How did you get into this film?
Oh gosh, I always wanted to watch this movie ever since I got into sci-fi, and I started researching like older movies. I think that was a couple of years ago when I looked into older sci-fi movies, because I was like, the new shows, the new reboots, I just somehow it doesn't capture me anymore.
I'm the same.
They did in the
I'm the same.
20 years ago, and I'm sure that there are multiple movies that I haven't watched, and it would enrich my, library, my knowledge base of what sci-fi was back then.
Right.
Because when I'm gonna be getting old and being a grandpa, I'm showing this to my kids, and I can tell that, hey, this is what I watched when I was your age, and that's Star Trek Voyager, and then they're gonna think like, oh my God, how old are you? And then it's like, I can tell them that, hey, actually this is a movie that I watched when I was 20, and it's 1956, and it's like 100 years from now that they made this movie. So it's crazy. So I think that's the reason, and I wanted to watch that because I remember watching an old movie called Soil and Green.
I love Soil and Green. We've already done that one. We love Soil and Green.
I do need to rewatch it. It's really
that film so depressing. I love it, but there's just no hope.
It's
that
awesome.
Annoys me about it.
Well, if you get the chance, Gary, listen to our old show. It's on YouTube. We review the film. We loved it. And I remember Martin did say he found it quite depressing at the end, but
I loved the film.
I didn't mind it. I think it's good.
I want a bit of optimism,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I appreciate
that movie is depressing in a sense. If you think about what happens in the end, without any spoilers, if someone tunes into this podcast for now, but for the first time. But it's on its own genre. It's a beautiful movie, and Forbidden Planet. I did mean to watch it because that's one of the earliest movie. I think Metropolis is the
Metropolis
earlier.
was the earlier. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 30s.
Yeah, I think I still have not watched it. I started it, but it's even earlier. I think it's the Charlie Chaplin era.
I think it's the 1930s or late 20s.
Yeah,
it's very early.
It's really old, and
I've never seen it.
No, copy doesn't even exist. So the copy I have, it doesn't have the full movie, but they actually explained at the beginning of the movie, saying that the movie actually the original lost, so they just put it together from different pieces from all over the place. So you won't be able to watch the full movie anyway. In any mean any time, unless someone try to recreate it at some point, but that wouldn't be the same either.
No.
So I think that's why I really wanted to watch Forbidden Planet, and because Forbidden Planet is like it became a big geek mecca store to be named after, and it's like I'm sure there's something meaning for it, and it's like when you look at it, like, okay, the robot comes in, and the robot actually Robert the Robot comes back in a few movies. I think Mork and Mindy is a good example.
Oh, is he? He's not in that, is he?
Yeah, he is in there when Mork gets a job, and he's a security guard in a sci-fi museum or a science museum, and Robbie the Robot is an exhibition piece.
He appeared in Critters. He appeared in Critters as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Robbie the Robot. And also
Robbie the Robot was in Critters.
When the dad goes to a scientific exhibition, you see him standing next to the time machine from the 1960s Time Machine film, plus Robbie the Robot, and they even use sound quotes.
Right.
They even use sound quotes from Forbidden Planet in the film Critters with Robbie Robot.
Oh, I'm going to have to watch that again now.
Yeah, so watch out for that. Two big sci-fi icons in the 60s and 50s.
Gary, can I just ask you a question? Something interesting you said. Because, like, with Michael, we've had that same conversation about you saying about you can't get into the newer stuff, but you're going back more to the older stuff. I'm the same. Michael is, and a lot of people seem to be, I don't know, going back to the older stuff. Can I ask why you're drawn to that?
I think, and this is just my personal opinion, so that no means that that's the reason behind that the movies came out recently didn't capture me that much, but for me it doesn't have a heart anymore.
It's more business.
It's all just business to get money, get people to the cinema, get this DVD sale, get the toys, merchandising, whatever, and which is I'm sure it's appealing for a certain group, but for me, when I sit down and watch, like, not go too far, but like sit down and watch an episode of the original series or Voyager, or I'm currently rewatching DS9, and compare that to Picard or Discovery, and I'm not hating any of the shows, but just doesn't feel right.
No, I mean
anymore. It doesn't talk to me the way how those shows did, and with the movies as well. I watched the three Kelvin movies, but I'm kind of, my mind is flaky when it comes to these things. I forget a lot about things about them. But if you ask anything about Star Trek 6 or 5, I can talk
Star
hours
Trek 5, yes. Mind you, I mean, it's funny how Star Trek 5 is not popular, but of course a lot of people would prefer even that movie to, say, some of the Kelvin. I mean, I actually don't mind the Kelvin universe, because they're separate kind of thing. But going back to what you're saying, it's funny how, as you rightly said, it's much more of it's just a business. It's just a way. It's not. There's no kind of passion in making a good story that makes you think. That's what the old Rick Berman era Trek, especially, also classic. There was the people who wrote that, they really cared about their stories. They wanted to make money, but that wasn't the sole intent. It was about doing both. Whereas more now, it just feels like, let's just bung in this. Let's get an explosion. That's good. Let's do that. There we are. And it's just like a business.
The lens flare.
Oh, the JJ. Yes, I remember that. Yeah, I still get migraines from that.
And what I did notice that with the new Star Trek, just briefly,
sure,
they try too hard to win us over. At least that's how I feel.
Shoehorned.
Why do I have to be, why does the show has to be proven that it's Trek worthy? If you do a show, tell a story, but not try to push that, hey, we have this, we have that, we have the 53 things that you can be happy about of the show. But if the stories are not there, like, you can do whatever you want, but you have to present a show that talks to me. But it talks to a lot of people, so I'm not dissing the show in any means.
No. I mean,
it lost me.
I'm
still watching it. But
I mean, we obviously will go back to Forbidden Planet very, very briefly in a second. But I'd say that with the new CBS Star Treks, I can see how they're made for a different audience. Now, it might be partly that we see things because that's how Star Trek was always made in the 80s and 90s and early noughties. But there's more than that. There's something lacking for me. I will defend Discovery to say that the second season was better. And I am looking forward to the third season, but you can't compare it to all those fantastic characters from the first five series.
Well, it was like Picard. I loved the first 7 episodes. I thought it was like the bit where he went in the bar with the Romulans, and threw the anti-alien sign on the floor. That was Picard, and there was like that moral thing in there. And then somewhere between 8, 9, and 10, it just went down the toilet for me.
Yeah, it lost its way. It lost its way.
All of it that built up over the 6 to 7 episodes were just forgotten about.
Yeah.
And I thought, why are you doing this?
So going back to Forbidden Planet, would you think they would ever remake it? Either of you, what would you think if they remade it?
Personally, and that's basically the end of the question that Martin asked as well. Why do I get into older sci-fis? First off, you get a lot of material from the early days, because you get a lot of material, and they're all masterpieces in their own way. And I do hope that this never gonna get remade or rebooted or anything, because here's the thing: you sit down, you watch that movie, you think about it, you see, you analyze it. It's a piece of work, like it's like a Rembrandt painting.
Yes.
Of sci-fi, and if you would redo the same painting with a different artist, even if it would be exactly the same, it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
Why would you watch a fake Rembrandt? Why would you analyze a fake Rembrandt when you can analyze the real one?
So
Maybe
I mean,
maybe it's a bit of a shallow explanation, but
no,
that's
I know.
how
I
I feel
think that's
about
I
it.
think that's a very
No,
valid point.
I totally get where you're coming
Yeah,
from.
I
So-
get that too. I think that's a very valid point. So I suppose very quickly we'll have to ask them, what do you think of current new Doctor Who compared to classic Doctor Who? Do you like both? Do you? This is obviously a question for Gary. What do you think of that? Do you think that the series coming back in 2005 has been a good one, or do you think it might have some elements the same as, say, Star Trek Discovery and Picard?
Okay, now this is when I'm gonna be a bit of a contradicting, over counterproductive or counterintuitive or whatever
Okay.
counter am I? Overcount myself. I got into the show with the 2005 series.
Yeah, a lot of people did. Yeah, fair enough.
I loved it, and I'm still looking for ways to watch the originals because they are there, and I love these little spoofs and snippets that comes out from Colin Baker and Tom Baker
Yeah,
and Sylvester McCoy and from the other Doctors as well, and I would love to watch them because they are part of the history. In regards of going forward, I think up till Capaldi, I loved it. But
Right.
again, the Russell T era and the Stephen Moffat
Stephen
era
Moffat. Yeah, they were good, weren't they?
was my favorite. But it's close to my heart, even though some people said that ever since Stephen Moffat took the lead on making the show, it went downhill and it was flaky and everything. Again, I didn't really notice the differences.
No, I didn't either.
Too much.
But
I
Chris
can see
Chibnall-
the difference.
Chris
I can
Chibnall?
see the difference with Chris Chibnall for sure.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
But with all due respect to the Doctor and the actors, because I still think that Jodie is a fantastic Doctor. I'm not necessarily agreeing with the kind of origin story that they said at the very end of the last season, because kind of gave away a bit of a mystery of the Doctor.
Oh, but people have said that
who the Doctor is.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, people have said that, you know, with Doctor Who, somebody can just go through some line that no, that wasn't real, and the Master was fooling you. I mean, they could easily opt out of that. That's the thing in
they can
science.
always.
They can always do
But-
that, like the
but
Master
it-
dying
it-
and coming back or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it, and I enjoy watching it still. It's not going to be the same as Peter Capaldi, and I'm not being sexist or anything.
No, of course
Again.
not. No. It's just no.
It's not
Every
yes,
Doctor's different. I mean,
it-
that's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in, and so did Martin. We grew up watching classic Doctor Who, and I grew up. My earliest memories was being 5 years old, and this episode with the fourth Doctor, Romana. She has this spider that jumps on her face or something. I remember going to bed absolutely bloody terrified, and that was in about 1980. So I'm showing my age. And so it's like with the classic series, of course, it has limited production values, especially compared to now. But again, there was a lot of love and a lot of thought in that. And I'm not actually talking so much about Doctor Who, because I still think a lot of new Who has actually made some great stuff. But I'm just saying that it's funny how certain, going back to a lot of other series, where when they make them now, they're just not quite the same. So let's just wrap up Forbidden Planet, because obviously we're going a slight tangent there. I would just say that it is a classic film. I've certainly enjoyed watching it. It was great seeing Leslie Nielsen, who of course I remember from the Police Squad films and that sort of stuff.
The Naked Gun.
The Naked Gun, yeah. Police
Naked
Squad,
Gun series.
yeah. Well, Police Squad was the prequel series, and then they made the 3 films. He was great. I liked him as the captain, and of course he had the love interest with the girl on the planet. It's a classic. So, anybody else want to finish off their opinions of the film?
Martin?
No,
you go first?
I'm all right.
Well, I have a few things to say about it because, like, I do have fond memories of watching, even though I watched it a couple of months ago. But the similarities between Forbidden Planet and Star Trek is quite ingenious in a sense. I genuinely thought when I was watching the movie, like, okay, first, that's not Leslie Nielsen. Like, I never seen Leslie Nielsen that young.
Yes, that's
I always
right.
seen him
Yes.
as a white-haired guy who was playing in Airplane and the Naked Gun series and other movies. So seeing him that young, a kind of Captain Kirkish
Yes.
outfit and style, I genuinely thought and started thinking, what if Gene Roddenberry thinks that, hey, this could be Captain Kirk.
Yes.
What if Leslie Nielsen gets Captain Kirk? That we wouldn't have William Shatner on as a big personality right now. We would have Leslie Nielsen, who sadly passed away.
That would be interesting. That could have been an interesting
Just imagine
twist.
the possibilities.
And don't forget, we've got Oscar Goldman from The Bionic Man as well. He's in the film as well. Richard
Is he?
Anderson.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's interesting how he's had some actors who, and again, it's like obviously who's the guy who played Christopher Pike, the first Christopher Pike, I can't think of his name, Jeffrey Hunter. You wonder what would happen if the first pilot of Star Trek had actually worked, because they say that the first Trek pilot was too cerebral, and you can see that the cage does match up a bit more with Forbidden Planet. There is some parallels with it.
Yeah.
We have an underground facility with an alien technology in it, which powered by your brain and your mind, which basically happens with the Doctor in Forbidden Planet.
Yes.
It kind of gives you the idea as well that maybe it's the planet N113, because the Doctor, and he has this young child who lives with him.
But the girl, she looks just like the character in the cage, the one that's on the planet. They look, they even have the same clothes.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, she does. Yeah.
They even dress very similarly. So you've got to see how the reference. So it's a shame that this is an interesting question. What if the first Star Trek pilot had actually worked? What if it wasn't rescheduled for a second pilot? You can imagine what Star Trek would have been like then. That would have been a lot more like Forbidden Planet.
I think at that time that like the cage when they turned it into menagerie, didn't they? But
that's right. Yeah.
In the pilot episode, there is, when you compare Forbidden Planet, there's so much compared to it.
Yeah, a lot of comparisons.
The mind thing and all that. But I think if Star Trek had gone that way, we wouldn't have got we got now. It'd have been, because they were quite daring with it. I mean, they put it out there, and it was highly intelligent for the time.
It was quite deep, philosophical. It had a lot of interesting overtones in it. So it's interesting in many ways that the new Star Trek series, again, of course, it's new production, so we've got to be a bit careful, is based on Captain Pike, who was based on Forbidden Planet. So in 2021... It's like the kind of repercussions of Forbidden Planet are still playing out on current TV, which of course is probably the best sort of thumbs up you could give to a film like that.
Yeah, especially the best of both worlds, is it?
Yeah, best without the Borg. Yeah. No, but I think it's a great film, and I'm really glad that both of you like it as much as I do.
Can I just say, I hope they never remake it.
I was going to say that. I have my fears about that.
Just leave it alone.
The one thing I wanted to mention though, and I think Martin, you mentioned that you have had some meetings with a musician who actually did the music for the film.
No, a friend of mine. He knows everything about. He does a lot of electro music, and he's a musician. He's obsessed with the people that did the music, and he really looked into the background of them. He's a big fan of Delia Derbyshire and all that type of electronic.
Oh
effects.
That's one thing I would love to. I'd love to learn a bit more about, because the music was quite different. Let's just say that.
Yes, it was unique, wasn't it?
Movies.
It was unique. Yes,
very unique. It's more like that machine that they used for a Doctor Who theme song, but without all the other instruments.
I think they were using a Fermion, them Fermion.
That's the one. Yeah.
One of them as well.
It
was all new, wasn't it? The technology at the time.
It's funny. One thing about these old series, that the sounds are so iconic. I mean, you think of things like the key going along a piano wire for the TARDIS sound, which is probably one of the greatest sounds in science fiction history. And then you hear about the sounds of how they made the blasters in Star Wars, or another one is the heat ray from the 1953 War of the Worlds. It's so, and Forbidden Planet again was a film which had so distinctive audio sounds, which really stand out and really make it unique.
Yep. You know that in the original series of Star Trek, that you remember they used to beam down to a planet, and same with Forbidden Planet, they always had that. Every planet they went to, it had that noise.
That weird, background. Yes, that's right.
Do you remember that? I can't.
The sound effect.
In my head now.
Yes,
noise.
yeah.
Sound. Well, Forbidden Planet did something very similar to that. So, I mean, they took so much from that in the.
But the sound playing is actually the lab underneath the ground. There was somebody on YouTube's put some sound effects, so I thought I'd mix that in tonight. Great sounds, really amazing sounds. I mean, I'm a big sound, as Martin knows, I'm a big sound effects fan, and I redid the War of the Worlds, Jeff Wayne's album and stuff like that. So I like doing sound editing and stuff like that. So I think to sort of sum this up, that a lot of things that stand out for me in older series, and again, new sci-fi sounds don't seem to stand out so much, is the sound effects like the Bridge of the Enterprise or phasers or the TARDIS, or I don't know why, but I do think sounds are quite important in sci-fi, and Forbidden Planet was a classic.
Because when you hear that grilling humming sound, you know that the TARDIS is coming, even though you don't see it, but you recognize the sound immediately. You know it's Doctor Who. You know it's a blue box. You know it's an alien.
But the TARDIS.
Same with.
I was going to say, when the TARDIS takes off, you know that it's just the same sound reversed, don't you, when it lands? That's what it is. That's what it is. Brilliant. I love it. And they had a bit of reverb in it as well. It's excellent.
It's simple. Simple things makes life perfect and beautiful.
I know. It's funny. I mean, often with these shows, what I do is like, it's like when we did The Last Starfighter the other week. There was a bit where the guy gets to the planet, and the guy's showing him around because he wants him to be the last Starfighter. And there's about 10 seconds of bleeps and blobs, which I took out, and then I repeated, and I added some echo, and I did reverse and looped it all up. And it lasted for half an hour on the podcast. You'd never know this, but it's one of my little weird quirks that when we do a podcast, I always try to do the sounds from the film that some I find, some I make. And I don't know why, but I just think because this is an audio show, if you've got to have audio in your headphones, you've got to hear the sounds representative of the TV show or film that we're talking about. But anyway, sorry, I'm going on a tangent. Brilliant film. I think we're just about, unless there's anything else you want to add to it, either of you, I think we're pretty much done.
No, I'm cool.
The one thing the movie never really answered is the alien entity. I mean, in a sense, we kind of got the outline of what it was, but I never understood it was basically just an imagination of the Doctor itself.
Yeah, it was his psyche, sort of
so he imagined that.
The equipment, because he could actually transfer information to his brain with those three sort of probes that he puts to his head. Somehow the mechanism and the technology amplifies his feelings, and because he's defensive, he wants to be left alone. That's what creates the entity which is killing the people that was the whole twist.
Well, the Krell race.
The Krell, that's it, the Krell.
That device, you remember that headphone thing?
That's it, yeah, the thing to work, yeah.
Well, they learned to create, what is it, to create matter by thought.
By thought, that's it.
And that's the basics of it, and that was
I guess
inner
because
dark,
he did it so much
inside us all.
That's right.
And I guess because he used it so much, and probably the planet and the whole system maybe wired up to his.
Yeah, that's why the old race died out, because their own nightmares came alive. The one thing that they killed them all.
I don't remember. Did they ever put a sign on saying that, like, hey, this planet, please avoid it?
They probably did afterwards. They would have done afterwards, wouldn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, sticking a sign on the machine, please do not use.
So it's like in Star Trek, that Talos 4 is basically forbidden
Talos
as
4,
well.
yes.
That's Star Trek's forbidden planet.
And you get the death penalty if you go back there. You're dead, apparently.
Not Prime Directive.
Talos 4. No, it's not General Order Number 1.
General
It's
Order Summit, in it.
Yeah, and it's basically if you go back to Talos 4 rather, then basically it's a death sentence. And of course, Kirk went back there. So let me quickly ask then: do you wish that Forbidden Planet had some sort of sequel to give more explanation about or do you think it wrapped up? And I'm not talking about a modern sequel. I'm talking about if they'd have made it like 2 years later, back in the 50s. Do you think that would have been a good thing or unnecessary, or do you think the story was told?
I believe so. The story was told. It when it ended, it didn't really feel like that. I mean, apart from that, but I had to just ask. But it just again me and my silly mind sometimes. But apart from that, I think the movie is well made and the story is well told. And I think back in the days, they probably made movies to think about it, not to you make your own explanations in your own head. This is what I do. I think it wraps it up nicely, and it wrapped it up wrapped the whole story up nicely. It's like reading a book, reading a science fiction book. If you really want to make another one, that's fun. But I think the story was well presented and well told.
No, I think I agree. Do you agree with that, Martin?
Yeah, I mean, with a sequel, where would you have gone? It'd be just them going to another planet.
Yeah, I just kind of...
or going back to the planet, maybe.
Well, I
maybe
was thinking about going back to the planet and maybe discovering more technology.
The planet got destroyed.
Oh, did it get destroyed? It got
blew up, yeah.
Oh, it forgot it, didn't it? I thought it just left. You're right. Oh, so they could. So basically, they couldn't. Forget that question. That's obviously null and void.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like it. I mean, there's trilogies out there, like with. Okay, let's just a little wild sidetrack.
Sure.
Jurassic Park, the first movie from '93.
Yes.
While you end the movie, it's okay, happy ending, everyone saved, the dinosaurs are roaming the island, but you still have so many questions like what happened with the island? What's happening with the dinosaurs? Are they gonna leave the island because there's some flying ones? Like they're gonna just leave or anything?
Yeah.
You have a good base to follow it up, but in this case,
you're right. I forgot that
you left.
There is a way you could follow it up, because in one scene of the Forbidden Planet, when that Dr. Morpheus, he said about the Krell, because they were a tiger, and he said they'd been to Earth, they'd been all over, they've been everywhere in the universe in the millions of years.
Oh, so they could have had some link.
Could be,
yeah.
Like in Star Trek with the Preservers and all this, these highly godlike type races. There could be bits of abandoned technology, like the thing at the end of time. You remember that with the portal that takes you back? And there could be Krell technology in different places, just abandoned, Yeah. But it's so beyond them, wasn't it? With millions of years.
They could have stretched it, and they could have said that it was just one outpost, and then just the next solar system along is another Krell's civilization, which maybe they're alive. They could have, they could have continued it. But I think that in the end, I'm glad that how it went, and I'm glad that it's something which we've all enjoyed. So thank you for that.
I do like the term. It's a Rembrandt. I love that term.
Yes, that's a good one. Yeah, it's a good film, and it's obviously it's dated, but it still looks good. The film still looks good to watch. I've seen some recent films which we saw a film called Star Crash the other week. It was and it was basically, it had Christopher Plummer in it, and it made me almost lose the will to live. It was so terrible. It was the most
I was kind of thinking, like, if you watch a movie called Starcraft, what is it? What was it? Star Crash?
Star Crash is the one I'm talking about. But if you see it,
it's terrible.
It's really bad.
If that's terrible, then you probably don't.
David Hasselhoff's in it.
That's right, David Hasselhoff. Yeah, he's in it as well. Yeah, before his Kit days. And Knight Rider and Baywatch. Yeah, if ever you find it, you get a copy or something. I'd love to hear your opinion of it. But if you watch that, you might never forgive us. You might never talk to us again if you see that. All right, well, let's. I think we'll move on from this, but that's really great. Thank you both of you for that. I think that's some great conversations. I wanted to go back to you, Gary, and if it's okay with you. Now, you've met a lot of celebrities in the sci-fi and Star Trek world, and I know that Martin has as well. I only went to my first convention last year. I don't know why, but we had to be in Birmingham, and they had this sci-fi, and we met Denise Crosby, and we also met Dominic Keating, and Dominic Keating was just like Malcolm Tucker from Enterprise. It was amazing. It was like really was Malcolm Tucker. Now, you've very kindly shared some really interesting interviews with some well-known sci-fi celebrities, and what I did very quickly, it's only a quick edit, but you had a fascinating conversation. Oh, but by the way, people, please check out Trekkerprise's YouTube channel. Some really great stuff on there. I'll post some links if that's okay with you, Gary, at the end on this YouTube. I wanted just to play. It's about a 3-minute snippet of you talking to Robert Picardo, and what we do is I just jump into him first, talking about his experience of Star Trek and not really being into it. Obviously, this is before he became the Doctor, and he talks about his I think it's his people he's staying with, or his people he's lodging with, or something, while he's at uni, and they actually sort of explain why they liked it and he just didn't get it or something. So do you know why I'm rambling on? My computer is completely frozen. This is what we call a blooper, and I'm talking, and I've got a black screen with a white arrow, and I can't play the actual footage. That's good, isn't it? So let's give it a second. We might have to come back to this in a second. But look, while it's loading up, tell us how you got into speaking to some of these well-known celebrities, and what experience it was for you actually interacting with some of these well-known stars.
Well, to be honest with you, interacting with them is no longer, for me at least, it doesn't feel like I'm talking to a godlike creature,
right?
Because that's the impression that I sometimes got when I haven't met any of them, but always wondered when I was a kid, like, oh, I would love to meet the Doctor, or would love to meet Harry Kim, or love to meet Picard, or Captain Kirk, or all of these people who I seen on TV and grew up with, because I grew up with them too. I mean, 10 years old and got into Star Trek, you're gonna grow up with Star Trek, most likely.
Sure.
And that's happened with me. So I was really nervous when I think Ethan Phillips was the first one.
Oh, right, Neelix, yeah.
Got to meet back in 2008, I think.
Okay.
And it was a funny experience, and I remember not just him, but Garrett, Wong Armstrong was there as well, playing on his harmonica and guitar.
Vaughn Armstrong, he played loads of characters.
He's amazing.
He played the Admiral in Enterprise, didn't he? And he also played a Klingon. He played a Vidian. He played a Romulan on Voyager. And obviously he was on Enterprise as well. He was, I'm terrible in my household. We're watching Quantum Leap at the moment, and every episode there's an actor from Star Trek, and I always say to everybody, "Oh, he was in the episode with Voyager." And of course, my family, they always say, "Oh God, he knows not." But I heard Vaughn Armstrong is really funny. Actually, he played a Kardashian.
He's fun.
He played a Kardashian DS9. 2 Kardashians on DS9, actually.
Yeah.
So
it's not really a question of anymore. I mean, I remember the first time when I woke up to, I went to my very big first convention in 2016 in Birmingham.
Yeah.
And for the 40th anniversary. Was it 40th? Or no, that was before. I don't know.
2000.
Probably timey wimey. It's a bit mixed up in my head, because I know 2016 was probably in Birmingham, and I think 2014 was the one that I went.
Okay.
And it was still in London, in the XL.
Right.
And that was my very first one, and I remember going up to all of these people, and I was so nervous meeting them. I remember that was also in 2014 Comic-Con, when I happened to meet Garrett Wong, and I dressed as Scooby-Doo, Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Okay.
And he recognized me as Shaggy, and I was so nervous, I didn't know what to say, and he was like,
I was like that when I met.
And I was like breaking down in front of him, literally, like mentally and physically, and he was like, "Oh my God,
strange.
Don't worry,
it's surreal.
Don't worry, it's fine."
Yeah, it's strange.
For me, back in the 90s in Victoria, they used to have a Star Trek bar in London.
All right.
Oh yeah, I heard about
and it was called Page. I used to go every Saturday night. Used to get the stars coming. They used to come every week. It was done out like the It was all done out like the Enterprise inside, and the staff were all dressed up and behind the bar. And they used to get like.
You're so
old
lucky.
stars
You are. You're so. I mean, where I live in Portsmouth. And there's nothing here at all to do with science
it's gone
fiction.
now.
And I love that. I mean, if I had that, if I had that down the road, I'd be there every weekend. I would have been there. I
lived in the place.
I bet you were. I'd love to have done that. That would have been so good.
Gone now. They got greedy and they put the prices up for there.
Oh, it always comes down to money in the end, doesn't it?
Yeah, they had loads of the best night you had was when you had Max Grodenchik.
Oh, Rom.
He's fantastic.
Rom's funny, isn't he?
One of the producers, Lolita Fat Joe, came.
Oh yeah,
and there was so much fun all night long, and they sit at the tables for you talking to you and that.
thing is, from what I've seen, they're really nice. All the cast and they all get on. I know that there was a big thing about Joey Ryan and Kate Mulgrew didn't get on apparently too well in Voyager, but people have their differences. But on the whole, all the actual casts of all the respective Star Trek, I don't know about the newer series, they all get on and still have very good, professional and friends relationships even after all this time. So it's really good. Now I managed to get this clip ready, so let's just play this. It's only about 3 minutes, and then I just want to then talk a little bit, if that's okay with both of you. It's a bit quiet. If it's too quiet, I'll turn it up. So let's just see how this goes. Here we go. Right, let's set up. It's doing the phone.
For many, he is probably most well known as the holographic doctor from the little show called Star Trek Voyager. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a very welcome and a very special welcome to the one and only Mr. Robert Picardo. How are you, sir?
Very well, Gary. Thank you. Pleasure to talk to you. And it's nice to know that you're in Scotland, which is a country that I
Can you both hear okay?
Quite a bit of time in the last 3 years and enjoyed myself tremendously.
I'll tell a bit. Okay, sorry.
No, that's good to know. And I hope one day you will be, once the whole situation sorted out, you will be able to come back and enjoy more of Scotland.
I grew up. I've confessed this to the fans, so it's not new information. I did not grow up watching Star Trek. I watched Lost in Space, I remember, because I think I had a big 14-year-old crush on Angela Cartwright. But I didn't watch Star Trek. I don't know why. And even more, I guess, an even more humorous fact is that when Star Trek, the original series, came back in syndication in the early 70s, I had just graduated Yale, and I was rooming with 2 friends from Yale in an apartment while I was studying acting. And these 2 guys would come home from whatever their daytime jobs was. One was studying trombone at Juilliard. The other was, I think, about to go to law school, and he was getting a year of personal work experience. Mm-hmm. And they would sit down at 4 o'clock every afternoon and watch Star Trek reruns, and I would ridicule them mercilessly as I walked through the living room, and they were both glued to the screen. So I think it's safe to say that those 2 guys got the last laugh on me, because at that time I would never, I was I was studying acting in New York. Acting to me was working in the theater. I didn't even think ahead necessarily to working in television, but I would never have imagined being in a Star Trek or other science fiction series at that stage of my life. And at the time of the audition, I had not seen a full Star Trek episode. I'd seen some of the movies. I'd seen the great Star Trek IV, the whale movie. I'd seen Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. But I had not seen a complete episode of the original series or a complete episode of any of the Next Generation, or at the time Deep Space Nine had been on 2 years. So I was pretty ignorant of Star Trek, and in retrospect, I'm glad, because had I really wanted the job, it might have psyched me out to be a fan. Tim Russ, to my knowledge, Tim Russ is the only bona fide Star Trek fan in the Voyager cast. Tim loved the show, wanted the role, and went after it. And thank God he got it, because he's just terrific in the show. And really, Tuvok is kind of my, I think he's the unsung hero of our cast. I really do. He gives such dignity to it. Obviously our show would be nothing without Kate Mulgrew. She's our leader. Yeah. I think all the actors are great in our cast, but I particularly love Janeway and Seven of Nine. But among the male characters, Tuvok is, to me, the unsung hero of our cast. Great dignity, and the core. He's the essence of Star Trek in our cast, I think.
So there we go. That's a bit of a snippet from your interview there, Gary. So a really, really enjoyable interview, and it's great getting some insights. Does that interview really stand out as one of your favourite interviews, or is it just one of many? How did you find that one?
Okay, so this is okay. So a little bit of background story. After that interview went onto air and it was available for many people, quite a few people reached out to me like, hey, how did you do that? How did you do that? How did you
I
do
was
that?
wondering myself. Yeah.
And I politely tell everyone that what happens in the holodeck, it stays in the holodeck.
That's fine. Absolutely. I totally understand.
But not to be mean or anything. It's just
No. That's your business.
There's some boundaries that I don't want to cross
I
with them
totally
as well
understand
either.
that.
So
I completely understand
I
that.
respect, and I honestly I'm glad that him and Alice Krieg approved as well.
Yeah,
To
absolutely.
come onto the show, and Larry Nemeczek as well, who's graciously give his precious time for me, literally a no one, in a sense. But I always get this, and I try to tell people that even though I had Robert Picardo on the show,
Yeah.
everyone who is on the show is special to me.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter if it's an actor from a Star Trek show or someone who I just come across on Twitter with. Everyone who I have in the show is a special guest to me.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I'm
It
not
makes
sure
sense.
if that answers your question, but
No,
that's how
no. I mean, to be honest with you, I think that, like I said, it doesn't matter how you got the interview. It's that you've done it, and it's got you noticed. It certainly piqued my interest, and you gave a really interesting interview to both, to all of them. I've not seen all of the interviews yet, but I did love the Robert Picardo one, and I want to see the Alice Krieger one.
I have got a really interesting feedback on the Alice Krieg one. That
I will check it out.
Apparently, she talks more about her role and how she became the Borg Queen on my podcast that she actually did for all the specials for Star Trek 8, and I was like, that's like the highest compliment I ever got.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean,
good.
That's awesome, is that?
That's excellent. I mean, of course, it's strange because, of course, Susanna Thompson took over the role for Voyager of the Borg Queen, but she did return for the last episode as the Borg Queen.
She did mention that she is not supposed to come back, but I think Susan Thompson was not available at that time.
Yeah.
So basically, they've been overlapping each other. When Alice wasn't available, Susanna was available, and then vice versa.
Yes. I mean, would you prefer if Alice had done the Borg Queen in the entire? She only appeared 3 times in Voyager, the character 3 times. Would you like Alice to have been the Borg Queen for the entire duration of the series?
Funny thing is, I watched Voyager quite a few times, and until the very end, I didn't even notice that there was not Alice Krieg.
Really?
They chose the actors,
Yeah, I will like that.
really
I will
well.
like that.
Actually,
They chose the actors really well, and I think the makeup was really unique for the character. Obviously, not to dismiss any of the actresses because they did a fantastic job, but personally, they fooled me. And I had every now and then I thought, like, is she the same as First Contact? Is she the same? But she's not. But you know, sometimes they have this thing that even though it's a movie, it's a TV show, they don't necessarily overlap the characters with the actors. So maybe they chose someone else for the show. But luckily with Star Trek it never happened, and with other movies either. But like if you were doing Stargate SG-1 with the cast of the Stargate movie.
Oh, wouldn't that have been a strange idea?
You see, it would be a bit of a strange thing to do.
It's quite funny because there's one episode in SG-1 where they mention they talk about the actual movie at one point. There's the episode like 200 or something where they, the episodes where they look at they almost destroy the fourth wall. And they do mention about how the fact that he plays a character who's based on Michael Shanks, who played Daniel Jackson, who's also based on the guy that I can't think of his name, who played Daniel Jackson in the first movie. So, it's a fascinating story, and I think it's really interesting that we've had we're getting sort of interesting co-hosts on the show, and we've thoroughly enjoyed this with you. Martin, anything else you want to ask Gary?
No, I agree. I agree with everything I've heard. I've really enjoyed tonight. It's been great.
It's really been good.
I hope we can do it again at some point.
Yeah, I mean, you're welcome to come back at some point if you'd like, and we've thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'm sure that maybe when if you watch them, maybe when Discovery comes back on, we can get your opinion, even if it's not particularly positive. If it's about what you think of the third series, we'll certainly be interested in your perspective.
If it's all right, if I can mention this, when the episodes that are on Netflix, we get them on the Friday in the UK.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start doing like a live show on Zoom once a week for about an hour.
And I'm going to join you,
If
aren't
you'd
I?
like to get a few of us on as a panel to talk about each episode, if you're interested.
Yeah, I'm happy to join, but either way, I'm semi-flexible. So
Yeah, of
if
course.
work allows, because sometimes I work till quite late. So but yeah, it depends on the day. But I'm happy to. Honestly, I enjoyed myself as well.
Thank you.
It was a really
been...
varied conversation
Thank
with
you.
a lot of things touched. So
yeah, and you're obviously on our wavelength, which is great. So thank you again. I was going to say, Martin, we'll do the slot next week for the Planet of the Apes. That's okay.
Yes,
We're running a bit late. So next week we're going to. What we'll do, just to let you know, Gary, what we do is we do a slot where we talk about if a series hadn't been cancelled, how it might have been continued. And at the moment we're doing the Planet of the Apes TV series, so that's what we're talking about there. So what we're going to do to end, now, would you two like to hear our fan, or not our fan, but our little friend on YouTube singing one of his... So we've got, now, actually, as our guest, Gary, you're welcome to choose between him singing. He sings The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Atlantis, or SG-1. Is there any of those you'd like to hear our little friend singing just to finish off the show for tonight?
can I get All Marine instead?
I can't find that one, so I haven't got the option.
Damn it! You know what? Let's try with Atlantis.
Okay, Atlantis it is. Okay, Gary, Martin, thank you both of you. It's been a really good show.
I don't want him to ruin all the other things for me.
That's fine. Okay, guys, we'll be back next week on the Solo on Sci-Fi podcast. And enjoy the song. Laters.
Stargate Atlantis is real. Then humans, they went there. They fought the Wraith and the Janine. Stargate Atlantis is real. It's underwater, right where the ancients have left it. Then the humans went there. They fought the Wraith there and the Janine. Stargate Atlantis is real. It's underwater,